Let's get connected.
Neighborhood Connect.
Paul Young here with Joyce Cox. We'd like to thank you all for listening to Neighborhood Connect. Vice President of Client and External Relations for Universal Commercial.
Proud to be a part of this podcast.
Neighborhood Connect.
You always get enlightened, inspired, and then, there's no more inspiring and enlightening place than Memphis, Tennessee.
Neighborhood Connect.
You're listening to the Neighborhood Connect podcast tour. We're here in Fraser, Tennessee.
Yes, we are, with our guest, Miss Beverly Robertson. And this young lady just exuberates energy, and she is the new executive director of the Memphis Chamber of Commerce. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. And I'm just excited about all the things that she is doing and her vision for the work in the chamber. There's so many issues when you start talking about economic development and community development, and all these things are intertwined. And I think she really has a focus on the big picture. How do you create jobs? The more people we have with jobs, the more people are going to be able to afford homes, to promote our community and invest in our neighborhood. So I'm excited about today.
Yes, me too.
Keeping it real, right, and funky.
I think one of the things that makes a difference is having an African-American man who leads as the executive editor. I'm always about this girl power. One of the other things we've been talking about is youth and their interaction with the justice system.
Funky politics on the Kudzukian Network.
Kudzukian.
You are listening to Neighborhood Connect. We are here on the podcast tour here in Fraser, and we are sitting with Miss Beverly Robertson, the president of the Memphis Chamber. Everybody knows you, so even though I mess up, they know who I'm talking about. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here this morning.
I'm here with my co-host, Joyce Cox.
Welcome, Beverly. And, Beverly is the bomb tickety.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
No, don't believe the hype.
So tell us how you're feeling. How are things going? You've been in, I guess, 3-4 months now. So how are things going for you?
Well, they're actually going quite well. When I came into the chamber, one of the things I decided was that I would interview every person who worked within the chamber. And I did that because I really wanted to get a good feel for their knowledge of what the chamber is and what it does, because even though people work for an entity, doesn't mean they clearly understand the work of the entity. So I talked to everybody about it. I decided that we were going to develop an all-staff meeting so that we could all be on the same page, understand what the goals are. I created a little saying about the chamber. I said, all we do is focus on Pew, P-E-W, Pew, P-E-W, and that is we focus on public policy, economic development, and workforce development. And I told my team, if I wake you up at 2 a.m. in the morning and I say, what is the work of the chamber? You better tell me public policy, economic development, and workforce development, because you can't have sustainable change without public policy. We can't have new jobs without economic development.
That's right.
And we've got to train the marginalized and disenfranchised and ex-cons for jobs that exist in the marketplace. Right. So that's the workforce piece, and I think that's a very important piece.
Yeah, that's neighborhood redevelopment.
Absolutely, it is neighborhood redevelopment.
It is.
And how we engage the community in economic development, because sometimes we do a lot of economic development work in the downtown and midtown areas, but people want to know, how do you push that out to the community? And so as a result of the plan, we've decided to do several things. Number one, we want to take economic development to the streets. Yes, we do. We want to take it to the streets because it's important. I don't think people have a good feel for what, tax abatements and incentives really are, and that's not a pot of money that the city has that they're giving to these companies. I think that's a mistake and a myth. What it is the company is just being given an opportunity to invest in the community, and as a result of their investment, they get to allay or delay pay tax payments, but it's not a pot of money that the city gives to them so that that money could have been used for something else.
Exactly.
It's the money that the company is investing in the marketplace to bring jobs. So I think we've got to take that out, not just to the streets, to the elected officials who don't understand that clearly. And the other thing we've got to realize in Memphis is, in order for us to be competitive and not get our lunch eaten by South Haven, who's working on it every day, we've got to be able to compete, and we compete by those offerings. I think also we've got to communicate to the community what the chamber does and the value of the chamber to them. How does it impact your life and what's in it for you? Because if we don't message that appropriately, people won't understand what we do. And so we've got to engage the community. I'm doing a workforce summit. The chamber is convening a workforce summit in either October or November, and we're bringing the players all together. Right now, we are siloed. So there are hundreds of organizations that deal with workforce training, education. They don't talk to each other. They do their own thing. There is also this youth opportunity, or opportunity youth and opportunity adults, which includes veterans and includes ex-cons and includes those audiences that really don't get an opportunity to vie for jobs. What we want to do is develop comprehensive plans in each. And I don't want the people who are in those various sectors to think about budget. What I want them to do is say, what is it going to take for me to scale the work that I do 3 or 4 times so that for these 15 to 21,000 jobs that are available in the market, FedEx can stop sending a bus to Cleveland, Mississippi to pick up people and employ them in the hub and other positions. Instead, we can take marginalized, we can take ex-cons, we can take those guys that stand outside of Speedy's grocery store drinking and playing cards and say, do you want a job? And give them the opportunity to work. And when they get into these training programs, the next step up is an internship program where we pair a company with that person. At the end of the internship, they've got a job. So if you're going to be trained for an aircraft mechanic and you paired with FedEx,
that's right,
your job is going to start paying you $60,000 to $70,000 a year. This is somebody who's never had a job, making $60,000 to $70,000 a year as a result of being trained for a specific job. So we want to do this in a huge way.
I love what you're saying, because when we talk about neighborhood development, and I fall into this because my space is usually physical development, but I think we underestimate how important it is to have a job. We talk about affordable housing, but if you can increase the incomes of the people that live in the housing, that's the best way to create affordable housing, because affordable is just relative to your income. So one of the things that I've always thought of when I think of the chamber, some of the work that you guys do is you are out in the community, but you're also out across the world recruiting companies to want to be here in Memphis, Tennessee. What is the perception of Memphis when you go out and you have these conversations? Is it improving? Are things picking up? Where do we stand as a city when it comes to this type of recruitment?
I think your listeners will be surprised to know that Memphis is a hot city for companies that are looking to come here. You know why? Because there's a low cost of living in Memphis. I think Memphis does have this special sense of hospitality, and they like that. What people don't understand, and here's what they say is the reason people don't come. They say it's because of the high crime rate, or it's because there's a workforce that is not prepared. And both of those are variables and factors, but every major urban market has the same issue that we have.
That's right.
What the difference is that we don't have infrastructure ready sites. And we don't have any properties big enough in our inner city core for these huge companies, let's say automotive companies, who come here and they want, 300 acres of land because they build a city when they come. We don't have plots of land like that. But there are companies, sizable companies, that want to come to Memphis. They love Memphis. So just because we have crime doesn't mean companies don't want to come here. They figure they got to deal with that wherever they go. But Memphis is the next it city in Tennessee. Now, you can take it or dump it. But I'm telling you, when you got developers coming from Nashville, Tennessee, into Memphis, Tennessee to develop property here, they see Memphis as a growth opportunity for them. And if you talk to a lot of businesses outside of Memphis, they're high on Memphis. They like Memphis, and they like what they see in Memphis. If we can get this workforce trained, because once your point was so well made, when you give people a job, you give them value, and you give them hope. These guys can pay their child support and take care of their families. When you give somebody hope, you give them worth.
That's right.
And when people value themselves, they have no need to do anything to you, because they trying to make more and grow and develop and get promoted. So when we do this workforce summit, we're going to have metrics associated with each organization that's involved. They're going to come to the table quarterly. They're going to have a lead person responsible. They've got to answer. I'm going to raise the money that they need to scale their business. I'm going to raise it. Awesome. So if that's $10 million, if that's $15 million, it doesn't matter to me what the price tag is. I'm going to go out and raise the money so they can be assured that I want to give you I don't want you to have any obstacles. I want to give you everything you need to be successful in getting these folks in. And we're going to work with the community of faith in doing that too, because they are in our, talk about taking it to the streets. These are the folks that are in the streets.
That's how you get to the people.
Absolutely. And I already have ministers, a group of 23 of them who are coalition, who have already said, if you gonna do this, this is what's important to us. We're gonna be with you, and we've got money to support it. So I just think we are going to do some things that will transform the face of Memphis in ways that we've never done it before. And with all the things that you all are doing at HCD, look, Memphis can't help but be an it city.
We are on the move.
Absolutely.
We are a city on the move.
There is no question about it.
You are listening to Neighborhood Connect. We are here on the podcast tour here in Fraser, Tennessee with Beverly Robertson from the Memphis Chamber. Joyce.
And, well, Beverly, tell us a little bit. How can small businesses get involved? You know, most of the large corporations, they started as a small business. FedEx, Walmart, the whole nine. So the little small business, mom and pop shops in the neighborhoods, how can they get involved?
You know, that's a really good question. One of the things that I said when I stepped into the chamber was on their website, they have a statement, opportunity for all. And I said, you know, you guys put it on the website, but you're going to have to live it now. So one of the things that I want to be able to do is hire someone who is responsible for locally owned small business and MWBE businesses, so that we can go out and develop a comprehensive plan that says, here are some things that we need to do to be able to help this business to grow and develop. You know, we already have the Ascend Business Development Program, which has really landed some tremendous successes. There probably needs to be a component of that reaches into small businesses and small startups. But we are going to have a position at the chamber who handles that. They'll be accountable for it. They'll develop a comprehensive plan. They'll be able to measure the successes. I think you inspect what you expect. So if you expect great results, you inspect for that. And that's what they've got to develop on the front end. So I know the budgets were set when I got there, but that means that I've got an opportunity to see how we grow our revenue streams so that I can hire new talent to be able to run that piece.
So you came, many people in Memphis know you from your background as the former president of the Civil Rights Museum and all the things that you've done in this community. How has that work informed your lens and how you approach this work as president of the Memphis Chamber? That
is a terrific question, because when I came to the chamber, you know, as the first woman and the first African American in 182 years, It's very different from my predecessors who sat in this particular job for a long time. I think I look at it through a different lens. The advantage of me being there is I spent 19 years in corporate America. I spent 17 years running a nonprofit organization. I've spent 27 years as an entrepreneur running my own business. And I dare say the people who sat in that seat don't have that kind of breadth and depth of experience. Plus, I'm a native Memphian.
Yeah.
I care about Memphis, and I care about growth and transforming this city in which we live. And I think that when I come to the table and talk to you about different kinds of approaches and about the work of the chamber and the involvement of the community in the work of the chamber, and making sure that there is a seat and a voice, that they have an opportunity. One of the things we're doing at the chamber, which is very grassroots, I noticed when I walked the halls of the chamber that they've got all of these lights on the wall as if it's a gallery. And I said, you don't have any artwork here. So I said, look, why don't we place artwork from community artists in the chamber? And as corporations come in, we'll have a price sheet. So they'll say, how much does that cost? We're going to help artists, leave the whole moniker of starving artists. And we hope to generate some benefits for artists in our community. I know Orange Mound has a consortium of artists. I want them to be able to be at a table. I want the artists to decide, how often will we display the work? How will we rotate the work? What kind of diversity will we include in that? So there's going to be an ad hoc committee put together so that we can make sure that there are different artists, diverse artists that are displayed and that people can buy. That's a small thing, but it's huge from the standpoint of an artist.
Exactly.
So we're going to do things like that help small artists get exposed and get their work sold, in ways that they would never be able to do it. If it's sitting at the chamber, somebody knows that's a legitimate place for it to be.
Right.
And there are people who meet there all the time who represent business who can afford to pay $5,000 for a piece of work or $1,500 for a piece of work, and they don't think twice about it. So let's even start with small things, because small things make a huge difference from a community perspective. So I bring a community perspective to the business and nonprofit world and to the entrepreneurial world, and I think that is the difference. I am not a person of privilege. I didn't grow up. I'm not from a privileged background. Being from Beltlines and Orange Mound, I come with the perspective of the community at heart, and I understand what it means. If we don't have business at the table, we don't grow and we don't expand. So the community needs to understand the value of having business in town.
Right.
And I think too often we don't understand the value of incentives and tax abatements, so we complain about it and we don't think it's a good thing. But guess what? If these people are bringing in 1,500 jobs for 30 years, how many millions, hundreds of millions of dollars are increased in this marketplace?
Yeah.
So the advantage far outweighs whatever it is we choose to do on the incentive and abatement side. And when we understand the numbers, you just need to add them up, multiply them.
Right.
And you will understand that if FedEx were not here with its 30,000 people that it hires, and if they had not made their home here, whatever they gave them to do it, it is worth it, because how many families have benefited over the years from their presence in the marketplace?
Oh, I love your passion. I love it.
Our view needs to be shaped and modified based on the truth.
Right.
And we need to really understand the equation and what the numbers really mean to us.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been in conversations, been on panels, and had that very discussions about incentives and the value of incentives. And what the conclusion I've come to in my mind is that there's so many issues in our neighborhoods, in our communities, in our city, and there's a lot of frustration. And I think the pilots and incentives just become an easy target for frustration when things aren't happening fast enough, or when communities don't feel the momentum that other parts of the city might be feeling. And so I think we have to, all of us that work in the public realm, have to do a better job of explaining what's happening. And so I love that you're in the role and you can speak with such passion. So we're getting ready to close, and I wanted to ask you one final question. What do you need from the residents of the city and the community to understand? What can they do to support what you're doing? We love your vision and the passion that you bring to the role. How can we help you be successful?
Well, as it relates to the Workforce Summit, I need for some of these parents to identify some of these young people that need to be a part of these training programs, that need to become engaged in this work. If they can help us, because they're at the grassroots level, and we actually need every community in Memphis. If you have folks that you know have been out of the workforce who really want to work. Now, what we don't want is people who try, who are superficial about it, who say, I want a job, but you're not willing to commit what it takes to stay in a training program. And what we will do is, because we realize that it's bigger than just wanting a job, we realize that we've got to fund wraparound services.
That's right.
That means transportation, babysitting services. We may need to provide a stipend to some of these people. So maybe quarterly that stipend increases the longer you stay in the program, so that we can assure that you're finished. More importantly, these folks who are going to go for these jobs need to be drug-free, because part of the issue in business is you can't pass the drug test.
That's right.
We need to educate our young men, especially, and women out here. You got to be able to pass a drug test. If you can't pass a drug test, you can't participate. So get clean. Clean yourself up. Right. If you going to participate in this program, and this is a for real program that ends up with you having a job, making better than a living wage in most instances.
Right.
So the community needs to educate their young people. Tell them start now. Get ready for what's coming, because it's coming. And we're going to do this program. So if they can identify some participants in it, and then listen to the churches that are going to be communicating some of this messaging out here, and respond in kind, so that we're not developing a program for which there are no participants.
Right.
If we get the business community to buy in and say, I'm willing to hire an ex-con, then I need for the community to say, I'm willing to deliver some to your table. That's one of the things. And be open to us when we come to you and take it to the streets. Participate, come to the meetings that we're going to host.
And that's going to happen this summer?
That'll happen this summer and this fall.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Is there a number, or can they go to the website?
They can go to the website for sure. But you know what? They can call 543-3557. Let me just put it on out there. 543-3557 if they want any information, or if they want to be engaged in any other kind of special way. But I appreciate you all for having the vision to do this and giving me the opportunity. I've only been here a hot minute. Lord knows what it's going to be 6 months from now, right? Who knows? But anyway, I've got a vision for what can happen.
Well, you are making waves, and we greatly appreciate you taking some time. Again, can you give the website for people to check?
It's www.greatermemphischamber.com.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to Neighborhood Connect. We're here on the podcast tour.
And Beverly, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
You are just an inspiration. Let me just say this: you're preaching too, aren't you?
Lord, no. You better know the church will fall down if I get to call. I wonder who's calling.
But we do thank you for joining us at the Neighborhood Connect podcast tour. It has really been great.
My honor to be here. Thank you.
Let's get connected.
Neighborhood Connect.
I am the Soulsville, USA site director through Community Lift, and I focus on the neighborhood association.
I'll let you say it, because I would have messed that up.
Neighborhood Connect.
1% of the capital improvement budget every year is allocated specifically to the development of public art.
Neighborhood Connect.
Neighborhood Connect.
Here in Kudzukian.
Best in Blue.
That means we go to the schools, we go to the churches, we do all types of programs to try to build the relationship between law enforcement and the community.
Best in Blue on the Kudzukian Network.
Kudzukian.
Keeping it real, right, and funky.
Tasha Downey, that other co-host, Tasha.
In this building, I want to talk about and make some mad beats.
Well, speaking about
there
making,
you go.
I want to bring out my inner
B-E-T-S?
rap artist. Like I'm here for.
Oh, you talking about B-E-A-T? I thought you talking about the beats.
Funky Politics on the Kudzukian Network.
Kudzukian.
You've been listening to the Neighborhood Connect podcast tour with Beverly Robertson. It's been an amazing conversation, exciting, inspiring. She's such a vibrant energy that you can't sit in a room with her and not feel the passion that she has for this work and for our community. So I think that we should all be encouraged by the steps that they're taking.
Well, one thing she said, that we have hope, and that is something that the city of Memphis is, as the mayor says, we have momentum, and we're going to keep it going, because after all, Memphis is what? The bomb diggity. Yes, it is.
The bomb diggity indeed. I don't think I've ever said that before now. So, but yeah, I think that, Memphis does have momentum. And I think what I took away from that conversation is that we have to make sure that this momentum spreads to every part of our city. And I think the things that she's laid out is certainly going to move us in that direction.
Exactly.
So you've been listening to Neighborhood Connect, the podcast tour in Fraser, Tennessee. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Neighborhood Connect, produced and hosted by Paul Young and Joyce Cox with the City of Memphis Housing Community Development. Neighborhood Connect, produced, recorded, and distributed by Kudzukian.
R&R on Sports is proud to be on Sirius XM.
So what's R&R stand for?
Real talk and relevant sports issues.
It's racial and relative. We're brothers from the South. We can relate.
R&R has meaningful multiplicity.
Listen to you all polysyllabic and alliterative.
R&R is Larry Robinson and Howard Robertson conversing,
challenging, and always chuckling.
R&R on Sports, part of the Kudzukian Network.
Kudzukian.